Is there a motion?
I motion that we take a vote on the third agenda.
On the third agenda.
What's that? That's Priscilla.
All right. As the maker of the motion, you have first right to statements, if you wish to make any statement.
I think we should go ahead and vote as quickly as possible and end all this.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, Walker?
When I volunteered to run for the board, my purpose was to lend a hand to a board that needed support and assistance. I truly wish that someone else would have stepped forward, but when no one else volunteered to run for the board in the open seat that was available, I felt compelled to have my name placed in nomination. Whether or not I remain on the board is inconsequential. There are many talented and thoughtful people in this HOA, and I would encourage all of them to participate. The solution is really quite simple. If you disagree with someone who is running for a board position, then run yourself, as I did. This is a far better and more democratic option than excluding people with whom you disagree. And I would ask you to search your conscience and vote accordingly. Thank you.
Andy?
Walker, could I ask a question?
No, please direct questions to the chair, no cross. What's your question, Andy?
Well, I would like to know if Walker has learned anything in the long arc of experience in serving, and have you changed anything as a result of what you've learned?
Walker, do you wish to answer or provide a?
Well, the one thing that is, I guess, near and dear to my heart are the rights of homeowners. And I hate to see them abridged or suppressed by an ill-conceived motion that we just passed here, which I think is of dubious legality to begin with. I don't think any homeowner should be excluded from a board, barring embezzlement of funds or some crime of moral turpitude against this HOA. And on the other hand, I don't think any homeowner should be prevented from voting for the person of their choice who runs for the board. And the previous amendment kind of does that. It prevents people from running, and it also restrains your right to vote for whoever you wish to be on that board. So to me, it seems more retribution and pettiness than it does productive. And I don't believe it will go to any length of uniting the divisions that we've had in this community. And it saddens me that we've come to this sort of acrimony over something that is very simple. If you don't like who's running for the board, run yourself. Get in there, roll up your sleeves, take a risk. This community had a chance to do that at the last election in December, twice. The first time that Andy and I were nominated, and when a motion was made to reopen those nominations, and still no one stepped forward. So you really only have yourself to blame, and to take it out on people who are sitting, who were on the board for a total of 4 days before this petition was filed, I think is ludicrous. And it doesn't speak well of us as a community. That's my answer. All right.
Any other comments? Yes.
Let me just address one point. One of the people that was elected last time was voted off 6 weeks earlier with 30 votes and got back on because they're uncontested. You need 1 vote. That doesn't to get on the board. It does not express the will of the community. So I disagree with you to some degree. It's a failure of our documents that we only need one vote to get someone on the board, and that's their own. So the idea is, if you can't keep doing this cycle over and over, where you're voted off, and then 6 weeks later you can get on with your own vote. And then we have to pay to follow through with the will of the community in getting that person back off.
Well,
It's a merry-go-round that's ridiculous.
I think your argument is well taken. However, once again, roll up your sleeves and get in the battle. You have the
Five
chance.
people resigned.
You have the chance, when Andy nominated himself, you had the chance to say, I nominate me. Let's have some competition in this arena. And people could have voted for it. They could have. And they probably would have done so gladly. But no one stepped
All right,
forward.
this has gone off of being about Walker, so any further comments?
Question.
Yes.
The only thing I wanna say is the community needs to be aware that the board does not make the rules. Everybody in this community signed the agreement of what they wanna do. And the board job is two things: to follow the rules and to take care of the common areas, basically. And if you, as a community, homeowners, do not like a rule, you need to, the board can't tell you, oh, you can do it, unless you have extenuating circumstances. The board doesn't have that right. The only thing you can do is you gotta go and say, I would like to bring this question before the community and see if 2/3 of the people want to change those rules. Because the board does not have that right. The board runs well, it's like a classroom. The teacher that makes the rules and expects everyone to follow them, those are the classrooms that run well. The homeowners association that says, these are the rules and we all need to follow them. And if we don't, we can't change them. But we, as a homeowner, your duty is to do it correctly.
Okay.
To find 2/3 of the
Okay.
community.
Matt?
I'm done.
I would just like to say, but the rules apply to everyone equally.
Yes, yes.
And I dare say, some people think that they're above some of the rules. And I include Walker in that statement.
All right,
What has he done this against us?
stop. Andy, this is your second.
So, to add to that statement about not running, back in May when everybody resigned, there was a long pause before anybody stood up. 2 people did, 3 seats remained open. I didn't come to that meeting to be on the board. In fact, there was somebody that came out at that meeting and said, well, if you really believe in the ideas that you're advocating, then you need to run for the board. And I heard that and accepted that. And then as soon as I got on the board, literally this dysfunction occurs that doesn't allow those ideas to ever enter the agenda. If you're against me, fine. But you never, ever, ever want to talk about the ideas themselves. You attach the person to the idea and you can't detach and actually deal with those. Walker has some different ideas than I do. We've debated them vociferously. But on some things we agree. And that's why we should have a board that has diverse opinions and agendas and stop making this about being against the people. That's making it more divisive. Talk about the ideas, not the people. So in that sense, I have a very hard time with what's going on here. Very hard time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say I accept what everyone has said to date, but my concern is that with the dysfunction that was happening, it puts a legal liability against all of the homeowners that I personally don't wish to accept. And so my issue is more of when someone's trying to sue the HOA, that again is above and beyond what we should be as a community. When there is legal liability against my property based on whatever it is based on, that's an issue that I have. I accept everybody and what they say, I'm not against any of that. Those are good ideas, but when legal liability comes into it and a financial burden is placed on my property, then that's a different story.
Okay, Bill?
I'd either part of your comments, but I'd like to focus everybody's attention back on the motion of removing Walker from the.
Yes, good point. Is there any further comment on the vote to remove Walker? All right, we will now vote.